welcome to GreenBiz Studio. My name is Kori Goldberg. I'm the Circular Economy Manager at GreenBiz, and I'm excited to be in conversation today with Ashley Leidolf, Senior Marketing Manager for Value Chain Engagement and Sustainable Packaging at Dow. Ashley, welcome to GreenBiz Studio.
Hi, Kori. Thank you for having me.
So, Ashley, I know we have some big questions to get to in a short amount of time today, so let's jump right in. We're talking today about deepening the understanding of circularity across the value chain. So let's start with your specific position at Dow. In your current role, how are you able to improve stakeholders' understanding of circularity across the full value chain?
Thanks, Kori. So in my role, I do a lot of strategic relationship building, and that is across the whole value chain. So I work a lot beyond Dow's direct customers with brand owners and retailers and industry organizations and designers and co-packers. So I really get to see the different definitions and different goals of circularity at each point in the value chain. And what that does is it helps us bring our solutions to market and get them out there faster and help understand how we can enable brand owners and retailers to get to their goals of recycled content and renewable content or recyclability. But also what it does is it helps us bring a lot of really valuable information back to Dow. And so we get some really good insights and understanding from our value chain partners that helps us internalize that and understand how to develop better and improved products to meet the market needs.
Absolutely. Getting everyone on board is such an important piece of this transition to the circular economy. It can't just be product designers or relegated to one sustainability team. Every stakeholder needs to be on board to make circularity more fundamental to a company's operations. So, can you dive into some of the details of your work and share a particular circularity challenge that you're helping brand owners work through and understand?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges in packaging, which is I work mostly on sustainable packaging collaborations. One of the biggest challenges right now is flexible packaging. And the reports from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the US Plastics Pact, confirm that a lot of brand owners and retailers are having trouble reaching their goals with recyclability and recycled content and flexible packaging. So that's a big part of what I do, is looking at how we help enable more use of recycled content and enable the designing for recyclability. So the design piece from the beginning is very important. And what we're trying to do is tie together the design for recyclability with our work in mechanical and advanced recycling and scaling up those processes. So the major challenge we're trying to help brand owners and our customers understand is that the design piece for recyclability is just as critical for mechanical and advanced recycling for both of those. A lot of people still have this misconception that advanced recycling is a magic bullet for flexible packaging. It's going to take care of every type of plastic and make them recyclable, and that's not the case. So we need to do the design work up front and still work towards optimizing materials and getting to better yields out of those recycled content processes as a result.
And in the circularity space, we work hard to communicate the relationship between efforts to decarbonize and those to advance circularity. What are some of the key points that you make sure to communicate when you're discussing the nexus of these topics?
This is super critical because a lot of our customers and our partners that are working on circularity have also set decarbonization goals, and Dow has as well. And so a lot of the circularity goals we see are more shorter term. They're those 2025 recyclable packaging goals and recycled content goals. And the decarbonization goals tend to be longer, I think 2030, 2050 timeframe. But what's really critical is that we're not making trade-offs in the short term for our long-term decarbonization goals. So in working on circularity and looking at making recyclable products or making use of recycled content, it's really important that designers and packaging engineers and process engineers are using LCA tools or greenhouse gas calculators to evaluate their trade-offs. So if they're switching to different materials or maybe using more of a certain material to get to that recyclability or that end of life claim, everyone needs to really be evaluating, are you making the best choice from a carbon footprint standpoint, and using those tools to make the right decisions.
So, shifting our focus slightly, I'd like to also hear more about another aspect of your work, waste sourcing and collection. How does this aspect fit into your work, and how significant is it?
Waste sourcing and collection is super important for some of our goals that we've set at Dow. We recently announced a new goal, which we've called our Transform the Waste goal, and it's big. We're committing to converting or to launching 3 million metric tons of circular and renewable products by 2030. And I had to do the math for Americans and turn it into pounds. So that's 6.6 billion pounds of circular and renewable products that we're committed to launching. So in order to have that much output, the waste sourcing and the feedstock sourcing is super critical at Dow. And so we are forming a lot of different partnerships across the value chain to secure the waste that we need and to order to feed these processes to convert into renewable and recycled content. And one example of this is our partnership with WM, where we announced a few months ago that we're partnering with WM in the biggest curbside residential flexible film recycling pilot. And we're working with them to do pilots in communities where people can actually recycle their films curbside. And we're going to pilot this in different communities across the country. We're using it to educate consumers, but also to really understand how it works and understand the collection and what we're getting and how to improve those processes so that we can expand that more across the country.
So, Ashley, you have extensive experience in the packaging industry across different brands and companies throughout your career. I'm curious, what motivates you to drive circularity in your role despite the many challenges?
That's always an interesting question. I like to hear other people's stories as well. But for me, I think growing up in rural Indiana, I come from families with backgrounds in farming and living out in the country and not making a ton of money, where resources were very important and saving things and reuse was very important. And so that was instilled in me from a very young age. I remember my dad, we didn't have curbside recycling, which it's still not available in this area. And we had buckets and cans full of different recycled materials. So we'd separate the plastics and the glass and the aluminum and the paper and collect it and take it to the recycling center and get money for it sometimes when I was little. So that was really interesting. And my dad was always saving the bags to go, like the store drop off films to go back to the store long before I ever even knew that that would be part of my career. So I think just the understanding and appreciation for use of materials and not wasting things was really part of my growing up and part of my childhood. And I also have a background in packaging design. And when I first started working on developing materials, I realized how much consumers really want to do the right thing. I did a lot of consumer research, and that packaging is the last piece that is left with a consumer when they're done using a product. And most people really want to do something with that and do something other than throwing it away. And so that has been really important to me, is just figuring out how to help enable them to be able to do something with that package.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today and for joining us in the GreenBiz studio.
Thank you very much, Kori.